Oh, it didn't take either of our cams. Is it gonna take yours if I do this? It took yours, okay, but it didn't take mine. Oh no. I had to unplug my camera. Hold on, guys. Snailman, say hi. There he
Hi,
is.
everybody. I'm Snailman. I love baseball. I have lots of baseball stuff. Had to get my hats up in the background.
Man, I even did pre-setup. I know everyone's gonna meme me.
Yeah, Kidney's not known for his stream
No.
smoothness.
It wouldn't be a kidney stream if it wasn't scuffed, right? There we go. I'm alive. Okay.
Hooray!
We're good. Hi chat, how everybody's doing? Who's done the missions? Who's excited about the new cards? I know I
Thursday's
am. There's some real cool
always
stuff.
always a sad day for me because it's the day my team gets worse than everybody else's team.
Yes. Isn't the stash beautiful, Zozu? Uh, Look at that. Look at that mustache on Snailman. Not like my mustache. This is a real mustache.
I always wanted to grow a mustache, and quarantine seemed like the best time to see if I could. And then I had this kind of epic like week-long baseball trip planned with a friend of mine, so I knew I had to keep the stash at least through that.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be gone September.
That's so sad.
I see. Yeah, this is an Ebbetsfield Flannels jersey. I saw somebody. I love that place, although they're really hot.
Yeah,
It's not
I
great.
can't run that AC when I'm streaming, and I am, you can see, sweating very profusely.
I had to turn my AC off because it really messes with the microphone. But
Oh man. All right. So, first off, just because I just thought of it, how many of those uniforms do you have? So when I met Yuka in Boston, and we were like, "Who's in the area?" and we ended up having lunch with you. You show up in what was it, a bees uniform as well?
no, it was Cedar Rapids Bunnies.
Cedar Rapids Bunnies. Okay. And I'm in the car and I'm about to get out and I just see this guy walk by in this old timey baseball uniform. I'm like, well, I guess I found him. I've never seen what he looks like before.
I figured it would be easy to pick me out in the crowd.
Just a little bit. Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, I own six. I own six of these, but two of them are a duplicate. I have two like really old school Boston like 1903 jerseys that I wear to Fenway when I go, and I always try to get somebody else to wear them with me, and I never can.
I'll do it if it fits. I'm a big man now, but I would do it.
They're pretty big. They're loose,
Yeah,
so I
maybe it'd
I
fit
think
me.
so. Yeah,
We can
it
go
would
with
fit
it.
you.
All right,
All right.
sweet. So let's start off. I have some questions. Chat, feel free to ask questions. It's going to be super informal tonight. We're just hanging out, having some fun. If you guys like this, I'll torture Snailman and bring him back. If not, him, maybe somebody else I'll get. I like to kind of bring up people in the Perfect Team community that you guys probably haven't heard of. So let's start off with who are you and why are you on my show?
Well, it's your own fault that I'm on the show. You thought I was interesting. I am. I always described myself as the jockiest nerd in existence. Um, my best friend from college is the nerdiest jock. He was on the basketball team. He plays this game with me, so
Nice.
we were a match made in heaven there. Um, I, I was looking for other people that played the game, so I joined the post stream chats.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of interesting data analysis on tournaments that I wanted some eyes on, and yeah, no, then it grew into hanging out with a whole bunch of people in various discords and other places.
Yep. So I remember the first time I met you was when one of the post stream chats and one of DRC's chats after the stream, um, and we went to like 4 a.m. that night, me, you, and a few other guys, and you were just telling us everything we should be doing in bronze, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how does this guy know so much? So I think I asked you maybe at the week after if you needed a place to like share data and hang out, and I brought you in TBD, and I mean, we've talked
Yeah,
all the time about baseball since.
that was my not so subtle way of trying to see if I could hang, if my data was good, and you seem to like it a lot, so
Yeah, I
that
did.
was
I
nice.
mean, I used to be really skeptical of anything anybody would throw at me, but I've learned as I've grown in doing data, and I now know kind of what good data looks like. Your stuff looked excellent. So, um, Snailman did this thing. He invented his own war, called it Snail War. He did rankings for all these bronze cards, and it was phenomenal. I've never won so many packs in my life than I did using Snail War. So,
Yeah, the downside was that I made perfectly and I got completely sidetracked
mm-hmm.
in terms of focus on what to do, but I actually enjoyed playing tournaments and focusing on that more than the last like month or so trying to chase missions and things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping to get back to that. If only Excel wasn't so frustrating.
Yes, it's so frustrating.
God.
I complain about Excel all the time to like my parents, and they're like, they've only used Excel, so they're like, Excel's fine. Like, what's wrong with you? But as someone who grew up on Cheats, I can't stand Excel. There's so many wrong things about it. How dare I speak ill of Excel? You know, RDT, you could have been on the stream tonight, but someone has to go to bed. So,
Is he still awake?
wait,
Oh
why
no.
are you up? Oh my gosh, go to bed. Let's get so most people I've called you Snailman a lot. Why Snailman? I know the answer to this, but they don't. Where did Snailman come from? How did we get to that name?
I think everybody's got weird stuff like this, but I was obsessed as a small child of having like a favorite stuff, favorite colors, favorite anything, favorite room of the house. And I would ask people all the time as like a little child, it's a way to interact with everybody. And I would have these weird pseudo intellectual conversations with myself about why different things should be my favorite. Um, I remember for snails, for animal, um, I loved turtles because the Franklin the Turtle books were like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they spoke to me for some reason. And then there was some day where I was playing with like worms in the dirt outside. And I was cutting them in half. And I'm like, whoa, it's so cool. It's two worms now and they're both alive. That's amazing. And for some reason, my brain decided that a snail was like a worm turtle. It was like a worm with the shell or some really silly combination of those
I
things. And I
love that.
decided that that was going to be my favorite animal for a long time. And then when you have I don't know. At a certain point, I stopped caring, and it was just the last thing that was my favorite animal. And then I've had to make an online handle, and animals are always good. Spirit animals are good things for identifying yourself. And yeah, no, I've ended up with hundreds and hundreds of little snail tchotchkes and things. Anytime I have a birthday or something, somebody will get me a snail thing, and it just keeps growing and growing.
Oh man. All right. So why don't I love that as Crash puts it, worm turtle. um,
Yeah.
so why don't you tell us then what got you into baseball? I've told the story a million times about like how I was a little kid and my parents were watching a Red Sox Yankee game and they told me to pick one because I couldn't be a Met fan and I picked the Red Sox and they got killed like 17-5, right? Um,
Oof.
yeah. So what was that moment for you when baseball clicked?
Um. So I mean, it starts very early. I think my first word was ball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was a very crazy child, always running around, really high coordination. So I was super into sports instantly, loved baseball. Um, and then there was some day I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 or something. And I was being dragged around on some shopping trip by my parents. We were on vacation somewhere. And we were in a used bookstore, like antique books and stuff. And I was so bored. And I found 1938 baseball encyclopedia that like they couldn't sell. It was super cheap, and I begged my parents to buy it for me. And I spent the rest of all of the various shopping trips and that vacation just like looking at super old stats and being super impressed by all the 1800s guys who hit 400 and all the weird seasons and things. And it just completely spiraled. And now that Saber has the biographies of players on Baseball Reference and everything, it's just there's so much to just keep reading. It's like endless content, stories to learn. I absolutely love it. Anytime in school I could pick something to do about baseball, I would do it. I did a whole huge research report about the reserve clause and all the constitutional law cases and all sorts of things. Um, I can't get enough. I still can't. It's a lifelong love.
That's awesome. Thank you, Teddy, for
Also,
the 5 gift subs. That's really cool. Thanks, buddy.
there's something absolutely magical about playing catch. I don't know what it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah. Uh, I was very unlike you growing up. I was super uncoordinated, but I played a lot of sports anyway because I was really tall. And baseball for me, I was terrible at. I got hit. One of my very first experiences playing baseball is getting hit in the head with a ball. Coach hit a
Ooh.
fly ball up. For some reason, we had a stadium with lights, and we're playing at like 9 o'clock at night, and it just hit me smack dab in the top of the head. And ever since then, my mom literally had to like rehab me with hitting tennis balls with a racket at me and things like that to like make me a good fielder. So not very coordinated. So I know a lot about you because we talk all the time. But for chat room, why don't you tell us some cool things? So you said the baseball almanac was from 1938.
Yeah, it's too bad I'm not at home. I'm still traveling.
Uh-huh.
I'm staying in. We don't need to get it. But it's a place that is about to get sold, and
Mm.
yeah. No, otherwise I'd pull it out. Sorry, I cut you off. You were gonna
No,
actually
you're
ask me a
good. I was just
question.
gonna say like so many of us, one of the coolest parts of Perfect Team, and I love that DRC's kind of elaborated on this recently, is like getting to know these players who we've never heard of, right? Like all these really old timers, or even for me, like I'm very young, there's some people from the 70s and 80s I've never heard of, right? But it sounds like for you, you know most of these guys already. Like that's almost your wheelhouse. I mean, you're wearing the old timey baseball uniform. You read the 1938 almanac all the time. Like, what is it about like dead ball players and what are like cool things that like we won't know that just because that's like what you love.
Yeah, Levy Mayer needs a card. Yeah, he was one of the first superstars. I love. It's kind of silly. Everybody interacts with the super old timey cards right now because they have great perfect team profiles,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of similar to why I fell in love with it in the 1938 almanac, was that they had all of the like crazy batting average records and stuff, and
Yep.
my um as baseball has evolved in our lifetimes, the all the new stats and all the different ways of thinking, like I've grown maybe less obsessed with the super old baseball, but yeah, no, playing out of the park really brings me back. Another super early there's guys that are too early even for like out of the park because there's not even pro stats. Jim Creighton
Mm-hmm.
is a really fun story. He's in the Simpsons episode. I'm wearing the hat
Mm-hmm.
just
Oh yeah, you
to
are.
keep it connected. He's Mr. Burns's original right fielder. He died hitting a home run. He like tore some like internal organ or something hitting a home run. Everybody thought he was like cheating because he was one of the first guys who would actually strike people out during the era when pitching was,
Mm-hmm.
batters called high or low, and there was all these restrictions. It wasn't really about striking people out.
Mm-hmm.
But he would be a great card. You'd have to completely fictionalize it, but those types of things I just love. I love all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of like the stories you've told me like about the year like I didn't know there was a year where they moved the mound back and then everybody blew out their arms and so like all these hitters hit 400 the next year, right? Like there's so many
yeah,
cool things about that era that are like misrepresented or like people don't even know. That's just like what are some of like your top moments? Like I know you've talked about Jim Creighton a lot because that story is wild, but like what are some
it's yeah.
other things that are really really cool from around then?
It's funny. There's the a big one was the fair foul rule, where like you actually have to hit the ball past first or third base after it goes fair for it to stay fair. That was a big change that they made to sort of like cut down. There was a lot of guys who were kind of cheesing it with for high averages. They would get really good at hitting the ball just like a little bit fair, and it would go super foul. Ross
Oh,
Barnes is
okay.
often criticized for that.
Yep.
um, Ross Barnes is interesting. I think he'd be in the Hall of Fame if he made it 10 years. But
Yeah.
he got really sick. He got like a
Hmm.
Rocco Baldelli type thing where he like lost all his energy, couldn't eat. But yeah, there's other good ones. We were looking through the rules actually in Discord a few weeks ago and stumbled across one where they were like, you may make home plate with rubber instead of marble
Hmm.
if you want to. And then a few years later, they're like, yeah, home plate is rubber now. You're not allowed to have it marble anymore, which implies that for 20 years they had marble home plates, which sounds so bad.
That sounds awful, right? Especially if you assume back then being a marble home plate, it probably wasn't like super thin or anything, and they probably either had to like dig it into the dirt or it was like raised up. And oh man,
I don't I don't know what they were thinking. That's crazy.
yeah, it was some really cool things like that. I see chat. I see. We got West in here. That's Devon Howe is a huge dead ball player. He's the guy who bought the first McGraw. You actually won a John McGraw
Yeah, I
as
was
well.
actually driving down to my brother's house the whole day, and somebody messaged on Discord, "Congrats on the McGraw." I was like, oh my god, what the hell? That's a really fun one to have. At some point, I'll probably make my team just all dead ball guys, all
Hmm.
1800s guys.
There's a
Um,
lot of. I feel like this year especially because they redo how strikeouts were calculated back then. You were explaining that one to me as well, right? Something
oh
with
yeah,
that.
the strike zones have changed a lot. They definitely have. They've changed how many balls it takes for a walk.
Hmm.
Um, they've changed the mound a couple of times in terms of height. They changed it from the pitching box to the rubber. Um, all sorts of things. There's a lot of the changes I kind of would like to see revert. I kind of don't like infield fly rules.
I saw somebody bringing that up in the chat about they would drop the infield fly to start the double play. Yeah.
Yeah. And the pitching box is a little bit like more intuitive than the rubber on the mound. It used to be just
Yeah.
like a box you had to stay
Hmm.
in, and balking is like a weird thing that exists because of the rubber and all the weird rules you have to do about like coming to a stop and all this stuff. And it seems a little silly to me.
Have you ever played like old timey baseball with old timey rules?
I would really love to, and there's leagues, but I
Ooh.
currently employ myself by playing upright bass in like colleges and for gigs and stuff.
Hmm.
And to play without a glove, um,
Oh. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That would not be good for your little guitar fingers. Did you see my guitar tonight? Did you
I
appreciate my
did.
guitar?
Yeah, you really went for it. That was exciting.
I
You should
I
you should have gone for it even more. Everybody would love it.
I was just looking at Bo Burnham lyrics to modify into what I read, and I saw one of them was I apologize for my guitar, it's terrible, and I'm like, I have a guitar in the basement, and I barely know how to play a G chord, so let's do this, right? Like
Oh
that was
no.
that was all my logic behind it. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I think my love for old baseball has really gone in awry. I love all old stuff. I have my suits have pinstripes on them, and
nice.
I was basically born 100 years late in terms of aesthetic.
Yep. Uh, West is saying in the chat that you could play catcher 20 feet behind the batter.
A lot of people did, yeah. They would catch the ball off of a bounce. There's a lot of weird rules that got changed a
Oh,
few times
okay.
relating to that. I think the drop third strike is somehow related to that.
Well, that would make a lot more sense if you were like playing it on a bounce, right? Kind of a
Well,
thing.
so they
Yeah.
used to any ball that was played on a bounce was an out for a long time or for a little while.
Oh, okay. Like one bounce
Um,
rule, right?
yeah, like one bounce,
Mm-hmm.
and you could peg people, and
Yeah. Was who was the guy who kept pegging people when it shouldn't be? There was some pitcher, right?
I don't know. That must have been somebody else telling you.
I've heard that story. There was one guy who like I can't remember his name. Probably somebody in chat knows. But he would keep pegging people after they banned it, and they like almost threw him out of the league over it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the way catching interfaced with the one bounce has changed several times.
Mm-hmm.
Also, improvements in equipment. I mean,
Yep.
it was a silly time. Also, you have like league expansion. Some years there's 3 major leagues and everybody has way higher batting averages.
Yep.
So you get like Chicken Wolf, his
Hmm.
beat card having like maybe being a better hitter than he really deserves.
Yeah, he's a weird one if you look at his reference stats.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right, so talked a lot about like baseball. Let's talk about. I don't have these questions written down, so sorry to throw it at you. But let's talk about perfect team a little bit. Um,
Sure.
so you've been a pretty successful tournament runner this year, right? We won the McGraw. We did Snail War for bronze tournaments. So two really big things. You also made Perfect League, playing some of the weirdest non-meta cards I have ever seen, specifically a silver batter in
Oh yeah.
Perfect League. Why don't you tell us who that is and why? And I will say the math behind it is really solid. It blew my mind when I was running numbers.
Yeah. So when I got a little bit lucky and won a Diamond League, um, I really haven't been trying to chase the missions or play the auction house to really like get a big bankroll to really compete at that level. Um, but I thought while I'm here, I might as well go for it. And some of the better teams running the lefty cheese parks, like I just didn't have McGraw or at the time, at least now, now I do. It's like, I don't know. It's a really strange card to just have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I desperately needed some kind of non-righty bat. I was running righty cheese out of necessity. All of the sort of mission pitchers that I had access to were right-handed pitchers, and I had opened a Chicken Wolf. So it really just made sense. It was definitely the best way for my team to be better than other people's teams in my home park and give me a chance. But yeah, Mickey Rivers, 71. Very strange hitting profile, super big reverse splits, really high avoid Ks, pretty high contact. Um, I remember I was just desperate. I was doing way better than I thought I was going to be doing in Perfect League, and I just really needed something. And I go to the database online, and I'm just looking at, all right, who are the best left-handed hitters with avoid Ks and contact? And he was like at the time like number one.
He was the best left v left hitter at the
Yeah,
time
so I went
in the
into
game.
I went in I went to the I didn't have one. I went to the auction house. There were none up. So I posted on TBD. I was like, "Hey, anybody got a Mickey Rivers?" And somebody had it, sold it to me for the L10, and I looked at they were like, "Yeah, he's great in this like Sunday tournament." And I just put him instantly right onto the roster away at the Lefty Cheese Park. He went like 3 for 5, drove in 4 runs. I posted the screenshot. I was like, "Yeah, and he's great in Perfect League too. Look at that."
Oh man, I mean, legit. Probably one of the coolest playoff appearances this year so far has been your team playing some ridiculous cards like Mickey Rivers and just like not having most of the big options either. And you made playoffs. I mean, that was I think the big story last year is CFed without Pedro or Cobb made he went 81 and 81 in Perfect League without Pedro or Cobb, and he made Perfect League in 10 weeks from starting his team as a free to play player.
Wow. Yeah.
That's like what I equate your story to is that story from last year is like the big crazy. I mean, you had the point where when my dad made Perfect League and I helped him run his team, he was playing Mickey Rivers in Perfect League in Lefty Parks.
Yeah, you even went so far as to play John Bale, right?
John Bale won us a series against Pitch, and he's not happy about it still.
I wish I had thought of that too. That was a good
Yeah,
that was a good insight.
I would.
Yeah, no, I mean, I made Perfect League. I was still running Trammell at shortstop.
Yep, I
Um,
remember because didn't you upgrade at the end of the season to somebody else?
after I was day one was rough. Day
Mm-hmm.
one was really rough, and that was the biggest weakness. It was just not going to work. So I had a little bit, and I went and bought a Frankie Frisch and moved Jackie over,
Yep, that's right. I
which
know.
at the time made sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just from a budget value standpoint, I think Simba was relatively new and very expensive, right?
Yeah, Symbol was really
Yeah.
expensive.
Even Bancroft now has come down to like 80K recently, which is crazy. Bancroft's still great.
Wow.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I mean, you've had a crazy run this year, um, and doing it in a really unique way, which is awesome. So, how long have you been playing Out of the Park? Is this like a newer thing for you? Or are you mainly a perfect team? Have you been playing it for a long time just because we like baseball?
Yeah, I played Out of the Park, the base game, like 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
almost, when
So,
I
like
was in
almost
high
right when it
school.
came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was like the second or third version of the game. I remember when Inside the Park Baseball came out. I thought that was super cool. Um, but yeah, no, I bought it. I didn't know about Perfect Team. Um, Quarantine was happening. I had a lot of friends reaching out to me, like, how do we move our social lives online? Because I was doing that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, no, I knew, I thought I saw New Out of the Park. I had one friend who was super into baseball. It's the friend we just went on this trip with, the jockeyest nerd. And we went, I bought it for us both. It was like on sale on Steam. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, maybe this is great. And he was still finishing up like work for the next week or something. And I was like, oh, what's this Perfect Team thing? And I joined in. I was like, oh my God, they made a game for me. It's Magic cards with baseball.
Yes. That's so
I,
well put. I mean, I'm a card player by trait, and as soon as I saw there was a game that was like, I've always played simulators. Like if I play Madden, I play it as a franchise simulator, right? And then I saw
yeah.
it's baseball. It has cards, and it's a sim stats game, right? Like, oh, my mind's
Yeah.
blown.
When I was in college, I even did like a small project that was a baseball sim engine. It was terrible, but you know that it was definitely it was absolutely picture perfect for me. It's gravy on top that, or the cherry on top, I guess is better. That the all the dead ball guys, the 1800 guys, are so overpowered.
Yes, they are, especially this year because they all have a Void K now. They are crazy. I'm waiting for, I think, some of the bigger names down the line. Like, we saw Shoeless Joe last year, and we saw Ed Delahanty was really good at the beginning of last year. And I want to see those guys this year with this engine. I mean, those two could be nutty.
Yeah,
So,
well, Ed Delahanty was absolute monster.
hmm and he played a
Somebody
lot of
mentioned his
positions, right? As well, I think.
um
I think he played at
a
least three.
few,
Yeah.
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 He, I think, weird ones too. I think he played like second base
I
or
think it was
something.
second base. He's left, first, and second is what he played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned early in the chat his disappearance is a great old timey story where
Oh yes, I remember
he
this
was
one.
like on the train
Mm-hmm.
and his death is ruled an accident. He goes over Niagara Falls, which is
Mm-hmm.
a crazy way to die. And there's like this story that maybe there were like thieves on the bridge that had accosted him. His family denies that he would have committed suicide, but he was probably bipolar and he was thrown off the train for being belligerent and he had tried to kill himself before. It's a very strange
Yep,
um,
that's a
tragic
crazy
end
one.
to, yeah, I mean, but he was absolute monster superstar. I think he hit 400 three different times. I think there's three guys to do
Yes.
that. Ty
Yep.
Cobb and Rogers Hornsby are the other two.
He also has a season with over 500 on base, which is crazy as well, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he and Billy Hamilton.
yep.
But
Oh
that's
yeah,
the eight.
he's a fast guy too. I didn't even realize that he had 450 stolen bases
Well, yeah, again, all of the old cards, I don't think they valued getting caught stealing or
ever.
getting caught
No.
like as appropriately as they should have. And they didn't track caught stealing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another sort of inefficiency in the out of the park model. You got all the old guys with insane base running profiles, and they probably got caught
They probably
half the
ran
time.
every single time they were on base, right? They had to, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
that's like, remember, I think it was Dave Bancroft we were looking at in his first year. They had caught steals, and he was like 15 and 27 or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
15. That's what it was. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was bad, you know. Um,
Yeah.
So cool. What other games have you played? Because you said you were on Steam, so you must have played some other games too at some point. Were there any other baseball games that were big? Just other games? What were you like? What's your gaming background a bit more?
Um, yeah, no, I loved MVP baseball, and I was
Hmm.
really upset when the license was like taken away from them. It was
Yeah,
they went exclusive to console or some other game that I thought was way inferior. So I actually kept that one going. There was a mod community for that existed for a long time.
I
I played
remember
that for like
that.
another 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, weirdly enough, I was like kind of a big deal in an FPS game that never really took off. Um, I was super a friend in college had an Xbox and I got hooked for like a summer on Call of Duty, and then like 10 years later I was kind of like just desperate for some kind of FPS game to play, and I went on Steam and I had a Mac laptop on the time at the time, and there was this
Oh
game
boy.
Insurgency that they were selling that worked on Mac. So I was like, "Oh, let's
Uh,
go for it. Let's see if this is any fun." And I became I had like a podcast for it. Like I was on the team that we won a world championship 2 times, but it was a small community that never even reached the size of the Out of the Park community.
hmm. But I mean, you
Um,
do have your own Twitch emotes, so
I do, yeah. No, I
you got
actually
some good ones.
the developers of the game actually hosted me a few times. They just ran the stream on the main page of the game and just like forced people to watch it. So there was actually a month that I would have
Oh,
qualified for um partner, but it was like basically view botted because people
right,
weren't
right.
watching.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Some games they put the thing up, and then everybody who's playing the game counts as your viewer, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I had like a month where I had 6,000 viewers or something on my Twitch channel. But no, yeah,
Wow.
it was the they came out with the sequel and it kind of, I don't know, it killed the competitive. It was so buggy when it first came out that
Ah,
I
that
got
sucks.
a little bit disenfranchised. But yeah, no, that was a fun couple of years. I have a lot of like Zoomer friends from that.
You're the
I
old
was
guy on the
also
esports team, right?
I was absolutely the old guy on the esports team. Yeah, it's weird. I've had meetups with them. It also coincided with like a lot of my friends moved away from Boston,
Hmm.
um, which is just something that happens. And I was really looking for connections online.
Hmm. Yeah, I think something that's cool that we're seeing now is, I mean, the biggest detractor is probably the Korean mandatory military service, but you're seeing a lot of older esports pros than you were before. There are guys who are playing in their like low mid 30s now, which is really super impressive and something a lot of people just thought they would age out for some reason. And there's a lot of really good, like, let's say for example, probably the best one is like League of Legends, where most of the classic players who are like the best from the beginning are like hitting 30 something now, right? So it's pretty cool that way.
Yeah, I remember in Counter Strike, which I used to watch all the time
Hmm.
as the competitive FPS. There were some the whole community was aging together, and when it first started off, everybody was 16,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
then 20 years later, some of them are still hanging on. They're still killing it. So
Hmm. It's pretty cool
that was
stuff.
kind of a myth that was busted that you can't play when you're 30 something.
Yeah, which is awesome to see because I'd love to see more people get involved with esports because I love esports. Whenever I can't
I'm
sleep and it hits 4 a.m., I'm like, oh boy, it's Korean League of Legends time.
Oh man, that would be dangerous for me. I've luckily never gotten into something that was super huge in Korea. I've never been like super into StarCraft or that type of stuff.
Oh, Crash
But
is asking if you played 1.6.
I didn't. I missed it. I should be a good
Uh,
contender for that because I had friends trying to get me into it when I was in high school, but I didn't. So,
yes, we are saying that people with 16,000 hours at CS are pretty good at it, even when they get
yeah.
older.
Believe it or not, though, people didn't think that. People thought
No.
that when you got to like 25, it was like your reactions were too crappy and you're getting replaced by someone who was 11.
Yep.
But that didn't happen. That was
No, and people were so convinced it was going to happen, you know? And I think what it was is a lot of the people who were pros, like at the very beginning of some games, weren't that good just because the communities weren't that big, right? And so you saw those guys get phased out as you're older, but there's a few players, I mean, like, almost everybody in esports knows who Faker is, right? And Faker's still chugging and he turns 30 next year, so.
I think it was there was no money in it. And when
Yep.
people got to an age where they needed to make money, they had to give up playing esports. But
Yep.
now there's tons of money in it, so you got people chasing it until they die.
Yes, right? It's going to be cool to see how long you can last and play that at a high level. You know what I mean? Like sports, obviously, you like we know it's like around 40 you start to fall off like really severely, but it'll be interesting to see when the reaction players uh, come off, you know, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm basically just a competition junkie. I'll watch
Oh, me too.
anything that I think is super high level. Like I watch the Tour de France every year. Like I don't cycle. I'm not in shape.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, it's crazy.
Anything with good casting is what does it for me. Like if you're a good commentator, I will watch whatever sport you're commentating. There was back when I used to watch Call of Duty pro scene when they had good commentators. They've almost all left now, but there was this one guy who ended up becoming a huge Fortnite guy, but he would literally cast bot games, like literally just 6-on-6 bots or 5-on-5 bots rather, and it was probably one of the most favorite things I've ever seen on Twitch because he's just that good of a caster that he can make it interesting, you know.
Yeah, no, that stuff's great. I totally agree. I've said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bad casting, so annoying. I also get
Please.
really annoyed they never use adverbs. They're just always say they played aggressive or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I probably shouldn't hate on that because I couldn't do it myself. But
Yeah, I
Bailey
tried
asking
casting.
if I watch chess. Chess is great too.
Oh, chess is fun. I know very little about chess, but I mean, like, I can play it on a surface level, so like, I can watch it, right? But there's some good casters for chess too, which is always really cool.
Chess got way better to watch when it went
Mm-hmm.
online.
Yes, it did.
Like this last couple of years, I remember watching the candidates for chess on TV or something 15 years ago, and like it being pretty
Mm-hmm.
but now like a really high level chess thing, they have super good, they've been casting it for so long that they have really great people
Yep.
who can give super insight, and you have the computer telling you like what's going on, who's winning, giving you lines,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like actually really approachable now, whereas it didn't used to be.
Or
It's
even,
great.
you know, we're talking about, you know, you can play esports for a long time, but even the people who aren't choosing to are now, a lot of them are moving into casting, right? So, especially with like chess, you can see where a lot of like the pro players who are saying, okay, maybe I don't want to play anymore, are actually now casters. And it's so cool when you get to hear a really good pro player cast a game who's good at casting. It's fantastic. So, yeah, that's just super fun. We got super deep into esports there, but I told you tangents are perfectly fine.
I think you just really wanted to talk to somebody about that who had some
Who understands
you know.
it? No. Yeah,
Oh
I.
god, and Magic on ESPN2 was so bad, and they didn't let them use like sleeves, so they're like shuffling insanely valuable cards.
They
It was
use no
so
sleeves.
painful. Yeah, they made them use no sleeves. It was on ESPN in like 2000, and it was so bad. They had people commentating that didn't know what they were talking about. They like didn't have any sort of
Wow.
ways to overlay what's going on, and like yeah, no, them shuffle, there's clips of people like riffle shuffling like $1,000 cards, and it's so painful to watch. I mean, it's just like if you were forced to like shuffle your baseball card collection. Oh, you played with a guy with the unsleeved mocks. I mean, I played as a kid too, so I've seen all that stuff too.
Wait, I was muted
You're
there for that. Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
you were
I
muted.
slammed my desk to kill a spider, and I didn't want everybody to get smashed. Um, but no, I mean, I was saying like you take all my magnet cases, like baseball cards out of the magnet cases, and I shuffle them. I'd cry, you know.
Oh
Oh man.
god, it's brutal.
Yeah, does somebody shout out Blood Bowl? Blood Bowl's pretty cool. I played it or I've seen it played a bit. I watch everything. I don't play too much anymore, but I watch everything on Twitch. I love watching people play video games, which is a very different look. And I know a lot of people don't understand it, but to me, it's just like watching sports or like watching a movie, even, right? Like, I'd rather, like, these people are like professional comedians almost at this point, and watching a comedian watch a movie is sometimes a pretty funny experience, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just anything that's you can compete in. There's mind games and stuff to think about. I just get way too deep.
Oh, yeah.
There's a rabbit hole I've jumped down it.
Yep.
The Scrabble documentary is like insanely good too.
Is
Bailey.
it? I'll have to forward that to my mom. My mom is like top ranked at Scrabble online.
There's
She's
a great
crazy.
Scrabble documentary.
Yeah, that's interesting. I will definitely have to check that out for her. So I guess we've been going almost an hour now. So I'm just gonna throw it open to chat. If chat, you have questions for Snailman, you have questions for me, out of the park, not out of the park, whatever. Just tip me with it. Throw it open. We do have a lot of people here. I don't know how many people are actually here because we did get rated. So shout out to those who've been typing in chat. It's awesome that you're still up at 12:30 my time.
I still into other sports or mostly baseball. I love hockey. I'll always love hockey, but just more as I age, more and more into baseball.
You play any franchise hockey manager then, or not the same?
I haven't. I bought it last year because I liked Out of the Park so much, but it's hard to find time for any other game.
Yeah. Why are we all from the East Coast? East Coast, West Coast. I don't know that. I've never been to the West Coast.
Yeah, I don't know. West Coast. My West Coast friends were way more into being outside for some reason. We have mosquitoes and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. You want to compare? Snail War isn't running yet. Hopefully it runs soon so I can actually make packs again.
All right. I'll do it for Buns. I'll let Kidneys reveal it.
Oh? You don't have
Sure,
to do
why
that.
not?
You want to commit to that?
I should. I want to do it and I just can't make myself because I've been spending too much time doing other things that aren't as rewarding. So
Well, let's do it then.
Old baseball games. Do you guys ever play Earl Weaver baseball for like SNES?
It's probably for SNES way past my time. What is chat? Does chat know SNES?
That game was tight. Ken Griffey Jr.'s baseball for 64.
Yeah, I never played any of the oldest baseball game I played was Backyard Baseball 04 with Ortiz on the cover. That was a good game.
Backyard Baseball was tight. Yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for N64 and Slugfest for N64, the sequel, were great. You could do like fantasy draft. So you could put the whole league into a draft pool and then like
that early? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was awesome. I did that. It spent hours and hours. And then I'd be like, oh, I don't like this team, and I would redraft.
Actually, it wasn't Backyard Baseball. It was Super Mario Baseball, which is actually a really fun game.
Wow.
It's kind of like Wii Baseball.
Golf.
Yeah, the golf was good too. I don't do fantasy, so I have one fantasy experience. I did a 4-man league, right? And 3 of us played, 1 of us did not, right? And the person who didn't play, who played with players injured on his roster the whole year, ended up winning the entire thing. And I vowed never to play fantasy baseball again. But I'd probably give it a shot, I think. Maybe next year or something. I'd be down for it.
Yeah, I did fantasy baseball in high school when I had enough friends who were into baseball to do it. We would like draft at lunch and have a league when Yahoo made it really easy. Mm-hmm. I did one with like my family one time, but nobody else cared.
You could, I know TBD has one going on. So
yeah, if I can find time. There's no time. Out of the park takes too much time. There's always time for
baseball. Oh yeah, and Mushroom has a fantasy baseball league he's recruiting people for. Maybe I'll check that out.
Oh god. Mm-hmm. The season's almost over.
Yeah, but I mean for next year, it's probably Keeper's Dynasty, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hmm. A lot of people saying High Heat Baseball is one.
Yeah, see, I got into MVP then, and MVP I thought was the best of
MVP
that era.
I played on the Wii, I think.
For a couple years after, like MVP 05, the last one with Ramirez on the cover, you could still sell for like $100.
Oh, because you said it was being updated. That's like, so Madden didn't come back to PC until last year or 2 years ago, and it was Madden '08 was the last one, and it was kept up to date with current rosters by modders, literally up till 2019. It was crazy. It's probably still
Yeah.
kept up to date because Madden '08 is probably the best Madden ever made. It's so good.
I think I own that one too. I think I bought that. I used to buy all the sports games when they were on PC. I love sports games.
Yeah, Madden. Like if you ever want a really good Madden game, go find Madden '08 for PC, guys, and get an updated roster and play that. It's so much fun.
The hockey games are always really good. Hockey translates pretty well.
I never did hockey, which is funny because I'm a really big guy and I was a figure skater, but my mother would never let me play it.
Wow. I didn't grow. It was a blessing. I didn't grow until late high school, so I had to give up hockey like when everybody else was huge and I was still 4'10".
Hmm.
But that was good because I would have gotten hurt. And that's
I've,
when I got super into music, and now I get paid to do that. So
yep. I've heard a lot, Ronell, about Stratomatic. I did something kind of similar when I was a kid, where we had a one piece of paper, very wrinkled and old, with 20 different outcomes drawn on it, like hit by pitch, hit, the single, double, home run, whatever. We just roll a 20-sided die and we'd play with our baseball cards. It was one of my favorite pastimes as a kid.
yeah, which is eerily similar to MVP baseball.
What?
Those are the
Just
card
rolling
game.
a 20-sided die?
Or no, MLB Showdown. What did I just say? MVP baseball.
Yeah, yeah.
God, it's late.
Mm-hmm.
MLB Showdown was tight. Yeah, played that in middle school in the lunchroom. That was the first time I ever used a computer to figure out what the best cards were.
Yeah.
Because you had to figure out. It was really a huge advantage to know what the best relievers were, because there was a salary cap for your team, and all the cards had like a salary cap, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really tough to stay under it.
I don't know. The more I play like out of the park, and I played Madden last year for the first time, like Ultimate Team. There's a lot of stuff I feel like we could incorporate that'd be really cool. Like Yuka, I know talks all the time about I just want to play Red Sox cards, right? So give
Right.
me Red Sox team chemistry, right? Or like I know somebody was building. I think 1933 was the first All-Star game. You would know, right? What was it?
Discounting the one held for Addy Joss.
Right. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think somebody was making a 1933 team, like All-Star team, right? Trying to build one of those, and like I was like, give you a chemistry for that, Like I think there could be a lot of really cool things you could do that might even widen the meta a lot. I'm a big chemistry guy. I think they're cool. So
Yeah, as long as you're willing to do patches.
yes, that as well. I've been saying for forever that y'all are way too specific and picky, and like there should be like an every 2 week balance update to the baseline that changes how the game plays. Like keep it fresh, keep it moving, and do things like that. Like it, I'd love to see it balanced like an esport. I think would be so cool. So
Absolutely. I mean, you could play Hugh Duffy and Tommy McCarthy in the outfield, and maybe Tommy McCarthy actually plays like a Hall of Famer.
last year he did. Last year Hugh Duffy and Tommy McCarthy were great cards in the beginning.
I know, it's super weird. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the worst Hall of Famer by WAR by like
Is
a
he?
mile.
Is he?
And it's super weird because he's in the Hall of Fame because Hugh Duffy was viewed as such a great player, and Hugh Duffy is like a marginal Hall of Famer, to be honest, by WAR.
Interesting. Let me see. Oh yeah, Hugh Duffy's
Tommy-
40
Tom-
war. Yeah.
Tommy McCarthy is like 16. I think there's
Really?
people. I think there's somebody who's in as a manager who has more career WAR than Tommy McCarthy. I'm pretty sure.
That's crazy. I mean, McCarthy only played 12 years.
Barely
didn't
played
hit
enough.
300.
No,
How is he?
he had some really bad years and some really good years, and he didn't play that long. But
Oh
he
my
was
gosh,
in
he
the
didn't
outfield.
even
They were
play
the
a full
Heavenly
12
Twins.
years because he looks like he barely played the first 4 years. He's like an 8-year player. And he hit 240 twice. What the heck?
Yeah, super weird. But he and Hugh Duffy, the Heavenly Twins. Now you could have synergies for.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody was saying like what was it? A Whitaker Trammell infield, right? Is that what the infield was? Like double play combo or something like that,
Maybe it's not synergies. I'm a big proponent of anything that any sort of creative idea that like tells the story of baseball
Mm-hmm.
in a way. So if you can have I like the era tournaments where it's like you can only use guys from these eras as long as there's enough guys to choose
Yeah.
from, that it's not just like play this guy, play that guy. But yeah, I think that if you had a lot of knobs, if you had like stadium cards or manager cards or something that really changed the valuation of players that you picked from,
Mm-hmm.
that would create a lot of at least sort of rock paper scissors type things, and it would create a lot of shifting
Yeah, that's
meta
the
type
thing. I
things
know a
that
lot of people like don't like ballpark factors, like didn't like pseudo. That's fine, but it if you're gonna lose those things, you're gonna lose options, right? Because every other option is like a whole. You have to multiply then every other thing by those options, right? So it's like it's exponential almost. Like how many more options you add, how much more choices you normally get, right?
it
So
makes it. You go.
no, I was just gonna say so something like chemistries or stadium cards, manager cards, right? Like I don't know how like I don't think there's like a manager union, so like I don't know how you license that, right? But like I think like something along some lines somewhere, like the game needs more, not less, to be better balanced almost, right?
Yeah, I like if you create some sort of way that the cards change. So like if you do this, then these cards get better, those cards get worse. Like then it just makes it harder to figure out what the best cards are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that's kind of whatever, that's the puzzle.
Right.
And it's
And
not
that's
fun if the puzzle's easy, and it's, not fun if the puzzle's simple.
well, I think like either we need to play chess or we need to play tic tac toe. Does that make sense? Like we need either it to be like so hard and ridiculous that we can't solve it, because I feel like right now we can kind of solve the game, but like at the same time like it's not like checkers or tic tac toe where it's like, okay, this is the best move every time here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the middle ground is sort of weird. Like I'd like one or the other almost.
I think they're doing a pretty dang good job though.
I I think there's so many things we'd like to see. I think we miss a lot of the time how good it actually is. I know DRC and I talked variety a ton tonight's content set. Um, I think it was probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. I really do, because there's so many legit options or so many unique profiles. Like all the pitchers weren't the same, right? Like the closest to were Joss and Felipe, and even then they're one I think you pitch around on and one I think you don't, right? And the three third basemen were so ridiculously different, even though they were right-handed third basemen, right? So I thought it was
Yeah.
cool. I really appreciate what Chris did this time. So
Yeah, that's super cool. And if you have like some sort of way to make them even more disparate, like they all have
mm-hmm.
different profiles, right? So if you have some way to maximize one versus the other, then you have even more sort of ways to create differences in the player bases, even if you don't just get great designed cards like that.
Also give me stadium cards so I can play the Polo Grounds and win.
Or Lakefront Park in
That was the one you were
Chicago.
saying about all home runs, right?
That's
Yeah.
where that's where the pre Babe Ruth home run records come from. It's
Mm-hmm.
like 190 to right field.
I played more than that in Little League.
Yeah, it was a double every year except one year where they're like, "What if it's a home run?" And they're like, "Oh, that was silly. I'll go back to doubles."
So it was a double if you hit it over.
Yeah, it was just a ground rule. It was just a double if it went over the wall.
That's so funny.
Yeah, my friend lives in Chicago. I'm gonna go. There was
Oh, that's
also a
awesome.
guard tower in center field, but I want to go like stand where home plate was. I think there's a plaque.
Oh, that's so cool. Love it. I heard the Field of Dreams game was crazy tonight. They like tied it back up in the ninth, and then I think Tim Anderson walked it off. Some people were saying it was
Oh
like
my
one of the
god.
greatest baseball games they've ever seen, actually. So
Oh man, I gotta get a replay of it then.
yeah, I do too. I was really excited because that was like something I don't really care about. I don't think I've even seen Field of Dreams except for like little clips, and like being so young, I was like, eh. But then everybody was saying it was like worth the watch. So that's really cool. It panned out, and we got the. I know we didn't show it on our show, but Chris showed it. The I don't know how you say it. You'll know how to say it. The Eddie Sakat card or Sakote. I don't
That's
know.
CCOT is how they
Sakat. Okay.
say to pronounce it on Baseball Reference, and I think that's how they pronounce it in the movies.
Yeah, that card really good. Um,
Yeah, did you guys forget to talk about it on the show, or you just?
We didn't have a slide ready for it because it was kind of like a last
Oh,
minute addition, so we just didn't get it in time, basically. But I mean, it's a packable card out there. It's another top pitching option to get, right? Like, it's just cool. It's not a true
well,
knuckleballer though, so it's not like he does have a fastball, so it's not crazy. I think it would be the best knuckleballer we have ever seen if it had it, but.
isn't knuckleball like weird in the game engine or something?
Yes, so if you have a fastball, it doesn't impact as much. Basically, think the pitcher throws the fastball more often than the knuckleball. But if you don't have a
Oh,
fastball, the knuckleball becomes the primary pitch, and so you get a bigger effect. That's how I was told it works. Crazy,
be
right?
nice. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna ask final call for questions, and then I will let Snailman go. And maybe you have some of Franchise Heroes 2 done. I have literally the worst 2 done. I have Rob Nen and Brian Downing, or my 2 I have done.
I think I could submit some cards that I don't want to submit to get
It's 2 diamond
Cincinnati.
packs plus the Franchise Hero, so that's not bad. Who is Cincinnati? I don't remember.
Was Morgan?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to lock Barry Larkin, but
Larkin's a good
whatever.
card. Larkin's lasted a lot longer than I thought he would. I'll say that. I think he's still a good card.
Got a pretty big verse left bat, but
Yeah, but I mean,
no
even
left.
his.
There's no lefty teams in my Diamond League, so
Yeah, but I mean, in Perfect League, I think he's really good, right? Especially
right.
with that speed and the defense isn't bad. Alrighty. I think I'm good if you're good. You got any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Speak to my manager. No. Any parting words
Parting
for
words?
chat here at 2:45 in the morning or 12:45 in the morning?
Yeah, it's late. No, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage everybody to just go join if you want to talk to people, like go join the post stream Discord chat and or just message people or reach out. Like everybody's pretty kind. The
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing about this community is everybody's old.
Mm-hmm. Except
I'm
me
really not used
and
to it. When
Mushroom.
when I was playing FPS games, it was like everybody was like 18. It was kind of annoying, but everybody's super nice.
Yeah, I've always had the older community because, like, when I was growing up, my community was Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like 13, and everybody was 20 something, and it was weird, man. It was real weird looking
Yeah,
back at it.
it was great. Thanks for having me. I'll
Anytime, buddy. You are always welcome. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know we were a little hesitant to come on, but I talked you into it, so I beat it into it eventually.
you thought I was interesting, so
I think chat
sure I'm
thought so
interesting.
too. I I'm really happy you came on. I think there's a lot of cool stories to tell, and if you guys like this, let me know. Just DM me, post in my Discord, whatever. And I will bring Snailman back. I'll get more guests. We'll figure things out. I think I like a more casual approach that doesn't involve me clicking buttons on my stream, so I can't mess them up. Feels good.
You need to get a producer.
Yes, that I need. I mean, that's what DRC does for me, right? He's my
Right.
translator and my production. So, thanks Teddy for the sub and the 5 subs. Zozu, thanks for the sub. Obviously, thank you DRC if you're still out there for the raid. And then we got Vulcan, Diggity, and Alf with the follows. Thank you guys. If you haven't seen me before, hi, I'm Kidneys. I'm the really loud, obnoxious Zoomer who used to be a celebrity and out of the park. I'm retired, kind of, technically. Snailman was my guest. If you're just like tuning in or you didn't get to watch it, go watch. It's kind of an interview, kind of just a podcast thing. It was fun. A lot of cool old Dead Baller stuff. And yeah, I'll be back eventually, some point, sometime. So drop me a follow if you want to see that. And with that, I guess I'm just gonna probably head to TBD if anyone's still awake. So goodbye,
All
people.
right. Good night, everyone.